I'm going to use this comment here to talk about sexual hygiene and etiquette and boundaries. So whenever you're having sex with someone, you should always want to make sure that they're comfortable and that you're having the best experience possible. Unfortunately, that is not the case with a lot of people, especially with social media and dating apps, where people feel like they have access to unlimited quantities of people that they can have sexual relations with. So with talking about etiquette, you want to be polite and respectful of the company that you are keeping intimately. So etiquette can be anything from making sure that, wherever you're going to have sex is clean, it's organized, maybe that you've washed sheets and things like that. From other people that you've been with. It's also having a conversation to make sure that you guys are aligned on sexual values. So, hey, do you have multiple partners? Well, my thing is, if I'm having sex with someone, I only want that to be my partner, like the other person, even if we're not in a relationship. But I choose not to engage with people who have multiple partners. So that's something you want to do. So it could be something very similar to that, like where you're having a conversation around expectations around and boundaries around even just sexual partnership. And there's a lot of people that want to hook up without the labels attached, and they feel like without having a label, they can just hook up and do whatever. But you are allowed to enforce a boundary and say, despite the label, I don't want to engage with someone who has multiple partners because I'm considering risk and benefits to myself. Other areas of exploration, and I'm a talker. So, whenever before you even engage with someone, again, another area of etiquette or boundaries could be like, I need to either we need to go get tested together, or I need to be able to see your my chart to see what the results of your most recent STI check was, or I need to make sure, like, you need to go get checked before I'm even willing to entertain that conversation about having sex with you, and I need to see the results before we're even willing to go further. And so that could be a way of like etiquette and just like setting up the expectations to make sure that, hey, not only are you safe and happy, but I'm also safe and happy. We're both being responsible and considerate of each other before we do the do. The next thing would be talking about what's on and off limits for you. Like, even before you get into it, it's like, hey, I'm okay with you touching there, or I like aftercare after sex. So aftercare is like the cuddling and the closeness after sex, versus some people are like, I don't want aftercare. I just want to be able to get up and go, or I want you to get up and go and get up out of my house. So just having conversations and expectations and boundaries around that might be one thing. Might be another thing, as well as where if you guys are doing penetration and things like that, what's off limits for penetration, and there's no not having any exceptions to that, or even entertaining someone who doesn't respect the fact that you said, I don't want to explore that. I don't care if you're married, you're partnered or whatever. If you don't want to explore that, that's like your boundary. And then maybe then you might entertain conversations around if someone's not aligned with you or not. So that could be another thing, as well as like boundaries around consent. Okay, so I do consent to this, but I don't consent to that. And consent happens all the way up until sex is done. Consent doesn't stop once you've said, okay, yes, I want to have sex with you. Consent happens before, during, after. And so that even means during the practice of. So an example of like things that may happen that you don't consent to, which is also considered a crime, and in some states is stealthing. And that would be like where someone removes the condom without your consent during sexual practice, during sexual activity. So if they remove the condom and you're unaware of it, either because it's dark or whatever the case may be, and they decide to have sex with you unprotected, on their own without checking with you first, even though you've made it explicitly clear that you do not want to engage in sexual practices without protection, then that person has violated a boundary and or possibly committed a crime, and that's called stealthing. You can go look it up, and if you need me to expand further on that topic, I may be able to do so. If you have questions around that. So another area where you might where a person may want to, may do something without boundaries. Excuse me. Boundaries is, maybe anal penetration or something that you did not agree to or that you didn't sign up for, where it's just like, oh, surprise, I'm just gonna, do something there. And if you're not okay with that, you need to stop. You need to stop and you need to get up from that and say, you know what, that's not something that I'm okay with, that's not cool, and I don't like that, and you need to ask me about things like that. And if things happen, beyond the level of which you're comfortable with, maybe you need to reconsider having that person as an intimate partner. So if things go too far beyond boundaries or consent, or a person doesn't stop, when you tell them to stop, or something hurts and they're not mindful of that, then you need to maybe reconsider whether or not this person needs to be your partner or not, or you need to engage with them or not. And I think also just another form of etiquette that a person could have during sex is like, does this feel okay? Are you okay with that? Or, hey, are you present with me? Because sometimes people will dissociate and disconnect because sex is uncomfortable for them, or they have some trauma. So your partner needs to, maybe if they notice that, they need to stop what they're doing and maybe check in with you and say, hey, I need you. Are you here? Are you present? Is everything okay? How does this feel for you? That kind of stuff. So just that checking in and that safety. And then, other times people may have unrealistic expectations around sex that you're not clear about, maybe, or especially if they have addictions to sex. So if a person has addictions to sex, or they may have unrealistic expectations, especially if they've been watching a lot of pornography. And so for people that have addictions like that, they may be expecting to recreate that with just a person that's not a porn star. For example, they're expecting their sex life to look exactly like that, and that's not. First of all, porn stars are paid actors, so their expectations about it are not realistic. And second of all, a lot of sex in pornography is dehumanizing, which, if that's your thing, then that's your thing. And this is no judgment if that's your thing. But I'm just saying, for a lot of people, they feel like, when their partner wants to recreate that, the chief complaint is it's very dehumanizing, and it can be. And I always tell clients that, porn can be inspirational, but it shouldn't be the standard under which you live your sex life by. Once again, unless you're a paid actor for it. And then that's a different conversation. But if you notice that, then maybe that's something that your partner's trying to recreate, that what they see on television, then that's a conversation where you need to enforce a boundary. Hey, that's not how I am. And so anytime you have sex with someone, you need to be catering to that partner's needs. If a person is not catering to your needs and they don't care about what your needs are, they don't care about what you say, they don't care about getting consent, you need to get up and you need to leave, because that person is very unsafe. They're engaging in risky sexual practices, and they don't care about the ramifications that you may experience, whether or not you experience harm or not. And that's not someone that you want to share your body with. It's probably not in your best interest, because that's unsafe, and it can be predatory, which a lot of women have found out in multiple instances. Hope this helps.